listen. Something about it.
Welcome in, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties. That's the way things go these days. But on with one of the best college basketball bettors, that I follow him, Joe
My
St
man.
Denis. Yeah, man. Yeah, he's made me some money these days. But hard to believe, man, that hoop season is right around the corner here. It seems like we just had the dog days of summer, and the Orioles were actually kind of 18 games under 500. Now here we are preparing for college basketball season, man. But thanks for joining us, and make sure to let people know where they can follow you.
Of course, my Twitter's Bets College. Everyone tune in. We're gonna have a big season. Make everybody a lots of money, and we're just gonna, take it one day at a time.
And you also do a plethora of other different bets on there, right? I mean, I know you got some stuff going on now. You hit the Raiders team total over, which I followed you on that for NFL. So college basketball is your number one, though, obviously, correct?
Oh yeah, everyone knows me for college basketball, but hey, I dibble and dabble. I'm not too bad at everything.
There you go. Well, thanks for joining us, man. Yeah. So, like I said, I really only have people in here that I trust and respect in this industry, and people that will make some money. So, if you are listening live and you want to tweet or you want to put anything in the chat, let us know who you root for. I'm obviously a Terps guy here. We'll discuss my Maryland Terrapins a little bit later. But just any questions that you guys might have, definitely put them in there. And Steve, if you're listening, you can definitely tweet in there. But Joe, obviously college basketball, the whole landscape of college sports as a whole has changed with the transfer portal, NIL. We saw an amazing season last year. Obviously, not a ton of upsets in the NCAA tournament, but with Florida cutting down the nets and just an amazing Final Four, just with the greatness of teams that we have. Ton of coaching changes coming in. Ton of transfer portals. What are a couple, I guess, storylines that you're focused on, or what's the thing you're looking forward to most? Or most intrigued by starting this season?
I think that first off, being a Syracuse fan, I got to start talking about my Syracuse Orange. We got Cayenne Anthony coming in, Carmelo Anthony's son. It's going to be crazy to watch just to see how much he can produce as a freshman. Syracuse has not been that good since Jim Boeheim has been coaching that team, and that's okay. I can admit it. Some people are still in disbelief on how bad the trajectory of the Orange has become, but I still have faith in my team, and I still think that they'll be a top ACC contender. I mean, the schedule that they have, it's not that tough. I mean, you're just gonna have to win those non-conference games, and then once you go into the conference games, you're just gonna have to beat the teams like Duke and North Carolina to be able to make it. I mean, that's what the committee wants. They got to see those ranked wins. You can't just make it. We see these mid-major teams in some of these lower end conferences, and you have to win your conference to make it. But Syracuse, they're blessed in a way because they're going to have opportunities to beat some of these tough ranked opponents. And I think they could.
Yeah, and we've seen, teams with like 19 and 15 records get in the power conferences. And that's another debate here or there whether they deserve to be in. But Syracuse, I think last time you guys made the Final Four as the 10 seed, no one thought they deserved to be in. And that team was like 18 and 13 and made it to the Final Four. And, it's funny because every time I come in or meet someone who's from Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, I drop the name Jerry McNamara. And if they look at me like I have two heads, I'm like, how do you not know who that is? And they're like, did he play sports? I'm like, yes, he was pretty good. But Carmelo was also not the only one on that Syracuse team, regardless of what people think. That was a damn good team with like some Hassan Reddick on there. But yeah, man, I guess talk about a little bit of the coaching changes here. What's the one that intrigues you most? I think there are a couple of really interesting landing spots. Obviously, College Park is buzzing down here, pun intended, with Buzz Williams, but love the Patino hire. Actually, love the Ryan Odom hire in Charlottesville. I think that's a perfect fit for him. But where do you think was the best landing spot for a coach and one that can make dividends right away?
I think not even just talking about landing spots, but I think we do have to talk about Auburn because I think that that is definitely going to be an interesting thing just to see where some of these recruits, it's not the season yet. They can potentially change, redshirt, sit out. There's a chance that Auburn falls off a little bit. I mean, once you go from Bruce Pearl, say what you want about him, he is a good coach, and
Damn
then
good
you
coach.
have his son. He won't be on that level no matter what anyone thinks, and Auburn might not be as good as some people think this year.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's
And
a lot of coaches in the SEC that breathe the sigh of relief that he may or may not get their Senate vote, but they're definitely happy to not have to play him, twice, maybe three times in the year for sure.
I know we just talked about Jerry McNamara. I think we should bring up that Siena got their highest recruit coming in. Not sure if it's this year. I'm pretty sure it might be next year. However, a four-star recruit for a team like Siena, this is showing that maybe the NIL isn't as bad for these mid majors as we think. I mean, a lot of people we saw last year, not a lot of upsets in March Madness. And me and a lot of other people might have not been too happy about that, especially people betting. It's
Yeah,
hard to make money when you're just betting on the favorites every single game. But now, if this trickles down to other schools other than Siena, where they're starting to land these four, I'm not necessarily going to say these schools probably won't ever land five-star recruits because they can't afford those guys. Those are the big names. You saw the one guy go to BYU,
right.
but that's a pretty big basketball school. I mean, they're in the Big 12, even if they're not on the Kansas's spectrum. But even if they're able to land some four-star recruits, that's huge because those guys they can play. Some four-star recruits end up being 10 times better than the five-star recruits. So I think that maybe the NIL won't be as terrible as I thought and a lot of other people thought.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see some Siena Saints basketball possibly in the NCAA tournament there. So, I totally forgot that he was there. So that is an excellent, excellent pool. But yeah, I mean, like you said, all you need is one of them. You get one four-star recruit, things open up, and all of a sudden, who's not to say that you become Gonzaga overnight, but it's not out of the realm of possibility here. So, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and obviously you've been betting college basketball for a while, just with the landscape of currently how things are, has it shifted your focus on how you bet, like the quantity that you bet, whether it's dollar amounts or games? Do you focus on certain teams? What is that like, and what advice would you give, especially for early season betting? Maybe not in those early season tournaments, but just individual games.
I think that it has always been important. Just you know, throughout my experience gambling, I think that even this isn't just early season; it's long-term gambling, especially on these college sports. It's not always the best idea to gamble on the games that you're going to watch on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like those big
Right.
name games, like the Duke North Carolinas, like things of that nature. Sometimes you got to go to these small schools, you know? Sometimes you got to really get into your bag and really do the work and see, really pick apart these small schools. Everyone bets on the big names, you know? You're not going to get an edge on those. All the sharps, if you will, everyone's betting on those. You have to look at these mid-major games early in the season because they will be mispriced. Vegas won't let you pull a fast one on a Duke or a Kansas or a Baylor or Auburn or you know, you know what I'm saying. You're gonna have to get into your bag a little bit if you're gonna win money. And the majority of bettors, they're going to bet what they watch. They're going to bet the exciting games. They're going to bet the overs. And that's another big thing. A lot of people just bet overs. And I get it. You don't want to watch a boring game. There's nothing wrong with it. I understand. But the problem is the overs just don't win every time. You're going to have to bet unders if you want to be a profitable gambler. And that's with any sport. So, I mean, with the NIL, and with the teams, they're constantly changing nowadays. But the one thing that 90% of the time doesn't change is the coach and the style of play. You could bring in anyone, but they're still going to play the same tempo. They're still going to play the same pace. So, yeah, it might not be indicative of what happens as the final score. It still will have the same result for the point total. So really lean into the tempo that these teams play at versus the players that are playing.
And that's great advice too. I was actually going to touch on the coaches part because that's the one constant in there, and a lot of the coaches have, like you said, certain things in there. So maybe it might take their team a little bit to gel to, hey, playing a fast court pass, full court press type style, or whatever, the havoc defense or whatever it is. But they might not look good the first two games, but they're going to pick it up. So maybe, hey, just because they didn't look good this game playing that style is not going to change. And they'll, as they pick it up, the line might not change to fluctuate that. So you still might start to get an edge there. So awesome advice there, man. So yeah, just wanted to, I guess, touch on a little futures, and I mentioned the name here for you know Naismith Award Player of the Year, but the futures, we could see such fluctuation too. So how do you bet them? Like whether it's the Naismith Award or a Final Four national championship pick, when do you do it? And what are one or two futures that you like, whether it's team or player futures that you might be betting this year?
I think that it is super tough to bet a future this early in the season. It's borderline crazy. However, you're going to get the most value at this part of the season. It's the truth. If I had to pick one team to win it all, I'm picking St. John's. Rick Pitino has done a complete 360 on a dead program. St. John's went from nothing to something because of one man. He has changed the whole dynamic of that school based on the fact that people actually want to play at St. John's now. It's become the front runner of the Big East. People don't want to play for, I mean, obviously UConn and stuff, but it's not the Villanovas anymore. People don't care about Villanova. People don't care about, you know, these other Big East schools. No Seton Hall, nothing like that. They don't want to play there anymore. If Rick Pitino made, I mean, what it's Seton Hall get the St. Peter's coach, and he did exactly what you shouldn't do as a new head coach. Bring in a bunch of guys from a mid-major to compete in the Big East. It made absolutely no sense. Yes, they won on a historic run in March Madness. But to think that that would translate in Big East Conference play with the talent that they had long term, absolutely hysterical. And what happened? They finished in the bottom of the Big East. It was so predictable that that would happen. Now, this year, we see what's it called? We see St. John's. They're gonna become and stay that same level of great. It's just the truth. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, all good, man. Yeah, so I mean, looking at St. John's, I have FanDuel pulled up, and they're at plus 1900 to win the national title right now, only behind the likes of Purdue, Houston, Duke, UConn, Florida, and Kentucky, and they're tied with Michigan there. So yeah, definitely some very valid points there. And I mean, I was a big proponent of bringing Rick Pitino to Maryland when the Terps had the thing on the coaching market. So going live here, we got some obviously some technical difficulties going on here. But yeah, man. So I was just saying, kind of, we got St. John's coming in as they're tied for seventh with Michigan for the best odds to win the national title. So they're at plus 1900 behind Purdue, Houston, Duke, UConn, Florida, and Kentucky. I mean, like you said, that the kind of the blue bloods are in there, and St. John's is right in there, especially after bowing out super early in the NC tournament last year with losing to Calipari. But yeah, I mean, exactly what you said, dude, man. But I mean, we know how many times those are going to fluctuate. I mean, it's like we have seen, especially with like I think some things that are very interesting is a lot of the teams that were good stayed good in the NCAA tournament, and there wasn't a ton of fluctuation between like, oh, a team that might have been plus 3,000 all of a sudden
Yep.
makes a run in the Final Four and wins it. It's like a lot of the teams that were up there, maybe Florida might have been the biggest long shot to start the season, but certainly halfway through the season, it was the same four or five teams that were up there. So do you kind of foresee that happening where it's like if you have a team right now that's like maybe in the top 10 for betting, they're going to kind of stay there all year? Or is there a long shot maybe kind of down in like the plus 2000s that you think might be worth it? Or should you kind of stay in the top 7 or 8 teams you think to have a realistic shot?
I have to pull up these odds right now. You're putting me on absolute game. I know you might not be able to see me, but I got to look up these odds. I'm
I
absolutely
got you.
intrigued
I
because
got you.
as much as I know about college basketball, I don't know all the odds on the top of my head.
I gotcha. Yeah. So you got teams like Alabama's at plus 3,000, Kansas plus 2,500. A team I like a lot Well, a player I like a lot in UCLA with Donovan Dent at plus 2,500. I
Yeah.
really like the Michigan line at plus 1,900 with Dusty May, but you have Texas
Oh
Tech at
yeah.
like plus 2,000. So it goes all the way. We'll go down to Tennessee at plus 4,000. So kind of, and then Auburn coming in at that rate. So it's like you have teams like Auburn, Tennessee, North Carolina, Michigan State, all plus 4,000. But it's like, where are they really going to be in relation to the top 10? Throughout most of the year. So it's like I do think that given what we saw the last couple of years with like a lot of the quote unquote like less upsets and like bigger teams winning, you might have some fluctuation in the AP poll top five, but I bet you kind of by the end of the year, the teams that were in the top 10 betting wise probably stay there.
And at the start of the season, I want to add a point. It is you see some of these teams that it's just all of these big name teams at the top of the odds, and I don't want to say it could be name factor. I mean, these teams every single year are going to be at the top. The Dukes, the Kansases, the Purdue's, the Houston's, they're always going to be at the top. It, they're they're not all going to win. You know what I'm saying? They can't all win. These teams, it's important if you're going to bet this early in the season, you got to go value. You can't just pick Purdue because
Absolutely.
they look great. Like, yeah, Purdue could very well win, but am I going to bet a plus 800 team, what, 2 months before the season and times my money by eight potentially? No, you want to target some of these long shots. I saw Gonzaga. Yeah, Gonzaga is far from what they used to be, but still, they're going to make the tournament. They do every year. They are always great. Just everything about that program is outstanding. They're still gonna not be. I don't believe they're in the Pac-12. I think that's next year.
Yeah, next year.
So they're still gonna automatically make it. Crazy to say, but Gonzaga pretty much automatically is gonna be in the field, and there's not a lot of teams that are, you can just bet on that are good teams that pretty much automatically are going to be the 64 teams that are in. Yes, I know
Gon-
St. Mary's is
yeah,
all right, whatever, St. Mary's, but the majority of the time, 90% of the time, Gonzaga just wins it
right.
just because they're that dominant. They have the physicality, they have all these tools. So plus 5,000 Gonzaga. Will they win it? Probably not. But I mean, it's a guaranteed team that most likely will make the not even just the round of 64, but the round of 32.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, then there, once you see their draw, you never know. And I mean, by that point, obviously the odds aren't going to be like that. And you can even hedge by betting individual matchups against them or for them. So yeah, really good kind of strategy there. Like I agree, don't do it, right? Especially because you can see the fluctuation there. But if you are going to put one, yeah, bet for value. Same thing with college basketball. Player of the year, a guy I mentioned, Donovan Dent. He will probably get some of my money at some point, especially if he gets off to a hot start with UCLA. But yeah, man. So advice out there for everybody: don't put a futures bet on this early in the season. Obviously, wait and see. But yeah, to Joe's point, find a team with value that is almost a certainty to make the tournament. I mean, last year was an off year for Gonzaga, and we see what they did, right? So,
Yeah, of course.
um,
Gonzaga, I don't remember how many times they've had two straight off years. Never.
right, right. So we'll go over a couple teams that I want to just kind of have you give me kind of what you think their ceiling is, right? Like, so, okay, whether it's first round of the tournament, whether they can be a legitimate Final Four team. We'll start with my heart and soul, my beloved University of Maryland Terrapins. Derek Queen, you know, awesome, awesome buzzer beater against Colorado State last year. Took us to the Sweet 16 despite everything Kevin Willard did. And then good first half. The wheels kind of fell off. A lot of turnover with that team losing Rodney Rice, Gillespie, Derek Queen, but getting Buzz Williams in kind of speaking to your point, his style is his style. It never changes. And he's been very, very successful. Made a couple Sweet 16s. I don't think he's been much further than that, but he also hasn't been out of school in a basketball hotbed like University of Maryland. What do you think are the realistic expectations for Buzz Williams and the Terps this year? And tell me that I'm going to see us on the second weekend of the tournament.
You know, after last year, great last season. There's nothing wrong with making the tournament, winning a couple games, and that's it. The majority of schools can't even say that they did that last year. So Nothing wrong with how Maryland played last year. The problem is they play in the Big Ten, but it's also favorable. I mean, with any team in the Big Ten, I can make this argument with Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska. I could go on and on and on about all of these teams. They all have the same shot. They're all new. Every year, it seems like there's, nowadays at least, it seems like it's a new roster, a lot of unknowns, but a lot of potential to be great. Maryland last year, if you would have asked me, would they go that far? I would have said, not a chance. They did it, you know? So going into this season, I think expect as much as you wish to expect, especially as a fan. Expect them to win the whole thing because who knows if they hit shots. If they hit, they're gonna have to hit more 3 pointers. So that's something they're gonna have to work on. You're gonna have to hit the threes. The same thing with St. John's. You can only win so many games based on defense. If the team you're going against is raining down threes against you, it's over. Buzz Williams, he's he's a great coach. Maybe not great, but he's a good coach, and he'll be able to win games. And Maryland is going to be, honestly, what I think Maryland will be, a last four in team, more
Okay.
likely or not. But maybe they can make a run.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, and like you said, hey, just getting in. I mean, we've seen some pretty lean years here at Maryland, and we took for granted Gary Williams and not making it past the Sweet 16. But hey, we were making the Sweet 16. So to get that taste again, I do think that Buzz Williams will eventually get Maryland to be a perennial tournament team. But yeah, this year I kind of have the same expectations as you for firmly in great, but I do see it kind of coming down the wire with us being last four in. So um, pretty good expectations there. Now, a team that plays in the same conference as Maryland that I really, really like because I love their coach, love Dusty May, love what they did in the portal. I mean, they're coming in at the same odds to win the national title as St. John's, Michigan. I mean, is their ceiling Final Four? What do you think of the Wolverines?
Dusty May, he's fantastic. All right, he turned another one of these mid-major coaches that turned a program to something, and then he got, you know, the big time job. So all respect to Dusty May. The problem is Final Four potentially as good as St. John's, no shot. St. John's, I really like St. John's. I don't know if you could tell. I'm not even a fan. I just like them. I think that St. John's is going to work on their 3 point shooting, all of that. Michigan, they just aren't what they used to be. They're not. They should not. St. John's was good last year. Michigan wasn't as that on that level. I mean, Michigan wasn't really that good. I mean, Michigan, they'll be good. They'll make the tournament, obviously. Upside, Sweet 16. I'd say Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8, but uh, this is a pretty big jump for Michigan. I don't know.
And and to your point, a lot of the tough parts too. It doesn't matter how you're playing; it's the matchups in the NCAA tournament, right? It's like they matched up, I think, perfectly with Texas A&M last year in the round of 32, and it's like, of course, they're going to make the round of Sweet 16 there because Michigan had the kind of team that combats what Texas A&M does, and they had the bigs and things like that. So yeah, to your point too, it's a lot of the matchup there. So just give you a couple more, I guess, intriguing ones that I like. So we will go to the Big East, and this is a guy who I really like, the Providence. I kind of think that the program is still vastly overrated as the type of job it is. When he came in and said it's an elite job, it's not. The Georgetown Hoyas, Maryland actually renews a rivalry with Georgetown this year, and I think I will be at or I still call it the Comcast Center for that game early in the season. But what are your expectations for Ed Cooley and the Georgetown Hoyas this year? Obviously playing in the Big East with St. John's. Where do you see them? Are they a tournament team?
No, nah. There's nothing wrong with Georgetown. They're all right. They're just a team that's probably going to have to win their conference championship to make it in. And it's no knock to Georgetown. I like what they're doing. I like what they're building. But they're just going to have to prove to me, and I honestly think they're going to have to prove to themselves that they're at this NCAA tourney level. They I mean, they're slowly getting better, but it's slow. So maybe in like, honestly, maybe in like 5 years, I might have a different take on them. It just seems like kind of a dying franchise. I mean, Georgetown used to be this juggernaut, and now I don't even think that they're top five in their conference. I mean, it's probably the truth. I mean, if I had to go top five teams in the conference, you know, I'd still probably put Villanova in there, just based on the fact that Villanova just somehow finds a way to get these games won. You're obviously going to go St. John's. You're going to go Marquette, obviously. I mean, Marquette is always has been fantastic of late. And
Creighton.
then, you know, Providence is another team that's like, uh, they're a real gritty defensive team, and they'll probably make it up there. And I'm probably forgetting some team. Oh, UConn. I'm sorry. Yeah,
And
UConn.
Creighton too.
So yeah, I mean, Georgetown maybe top seven in their conference.
Yeah, I'm curious to see too because I obviously thought Ed Cooley did Providence dirty, and just the notion that hey, it's Georgetown, how could you not take that job? It's like, well, they're if they still have these unrealistic expectations that they're just going to come in and all of a sudden things are going to be great, and they can't Ed Cooley if he doesn't make the tournament this year or next year, you got to pump the brakes a little bit there. To your point, it's like look at the landscape, look at how things are doing, and give the guy some time. It's a slow build. He is in the Washington D.C. area, so we'll see how he gets recruits there, man. But want to touch on a lot of the bets that I like that you make are on the smaller conference games. And to your point that you talked about earlier, I guess who are a couple of teams for us to keep our eye on? And I don't consider Gonzaga mid-major, but a
Oh yeah.
couple of mid-major teams for us to keep our eye on, whether they're, hey, this is a great offensive team that we're going to have a lot of fun betting them because they're raining threes, or this team's just going to grind you out and shut down. But maybe give me two or three mid-major teams for us to keep an eye on, and teams that you think you're going to be having some coin on, a lot of
I
times this
think
season.
Lipscomb. I mean,
Okay,
they're
the
a
Bison.
high flying team. They just play in the season, and you see Lipscomb playing. Yeah, bet that over. Bet that over all day. They don't play defense, but I mean, if they're making their shots, it's going to be impossible to beat them. They could put up 100 points every night, which is pretty nuts to think about, especially as a mid-major team. I mean, you don't even really see that in any conference, putting up close to 100 points. They're unstoppable. Yes, their defense is pretty putrid. They're not a good defensive team, but yeah, they can score the best of them, and I think that they'll definitely be up there as a mid-major team to keep an eye on. I think they'll make the tournament, but we'll see. I also, Charleston. You could talk about Charleston. Chris Mack, obviously, he's been around. Great coach. Charleston doesn't really matter the players. Just seems like they always make it. They always got a knack for making the tournament. I think that this year will be no different. You could also talk about a team like Colgate. They had a little bit of a fall from grace of recent, but I just have a feeling that this year they're gonna make the tournament, and Colgate will be back in March Madness. So I think Colgate, Charleston, and Lipscomb. Those are my three. I'm not gonna talk about the Sanfords, and, the teams that are obviously were fantastic last year because no one cares
Yeah.
about those teams. We know that they're gonna make it and all of that. So
Well, I'm mad at Colgate because I do actually know a diehard Colgate fan who used to go to the bar that I used to bartend at, and I actually put money on them. I think they were plus 5.5 or plus 6.5 in the conference final against American. I'm like, Colgate, I think beat them the first two games. I'm like, is American really that good? And I was wrong, obviously. So Colgate cost me some money there. First time not winning the Patriot League, I think in like 7 years or something like that. But I mean, like 7 or 8 straight finals. So insane. But yeah, those are the kind of teams, and it's nice that you mentioned those because yes, while it might be fun stories and they're making us money, those are the kind of teams that's like those styles in March Madness are the teams that's bring you the upsets, right? Like if you're raining threes and scoring 100 points at Lipscomb, what if a team has an off day shooting and your Lipscomb's still in there raining threes? You know what I mean? So really, really good, kind of teams to take a look at for there. So Is there a certain mid-major player that you think, hey, this guy is going to either be, you know, at a big school next year, or maybe can work their way up into a lottery pick? Is there one name that you have kind of off the top of your head that's like keep an eye out for this guy?
I think we will just have to see in regards to that because a lot of these mid-major players, they're gonna have to show up this year. The thing about the NIL and how everything works, if someone did well last year, they're gone. They're gone. They transferred. They took their money. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation and just the times that we're living in. If someone had a great season last year, more likely or not, 9 times out of 10, they're taking full advantage of it. And how can you blame these kids? I mean, it's it's really hard. I mean, it's pretty hard to have a good season, and it's really hard to replicate that type of performance. So I think just talking about these mid majors, it's going to be tough. We'll have to see. I know that I think Charleston might have like this 7 foot guy. I mean, holy crap, he's he he might make it somewhere, man, because he redshirted his first year. So we're gonna keep an eye on him. I mean, hey, if you're
And
7 feet tall, you ain't gonna be playing at that school for that much.
and we know St. Mary's will have some random person from Australia that probably averages like 25 in a game and lights it up, like similar to Delvedova and Patty Mills and whoever else they had. Or Sam Him. I know he's not Australian, but yeah, just St. Mary's and an Australian guard that will end up probably falling in love with. There's another one for you, man. But yeah, man. Well, so I wanted to play the mascot game, but we'll probably do that next time we chat, just because I mean we're having a little bit of I guess kind of video issues here. But you gave some really really good stuff as far as like strategy for betting, and you know when you post your bets, like, and you pick like the 4 or 5, or I've seen sometimes up to 10 plays that you do. What makes you kind of be like, hey, this is my top play versus a play where I'm only going to put a couple units on, like, and what is the determining factor in those? Because like, let's say you post 10 plays, obviously we want to follow all 10, but when you rank them with your units and things like that, how do you prioritize everything on that? Like, I mean, what makes you more confident in some games versus the others?
I feel like when you look at any slates, you're gonna see something first glance that just pops out, and you're gonna be like, okay, this is the play. Obviously, I mean, college basketball season. I already looked at the first slate of games. I counted. There's over 50 of them, probably more than that, but probably like 50 realistic games that we're gonna be betting on because there's D1, D3, D1, D2s, all of that nature that we won't be able to bet on. But I mean, you're not gonna just bet one game, but there will be that one game that caught my eye. I actually want to what's it called? I want to look at these first couple games while I'm on the thing with you because I can already tell you some things that will happen months in advance. Just look at these games. I don't need point totals or anything like that. You just know. Some people just know, and some people just don't. I could look and I could say, obviously, that Arizona Florida game more likely or not is going to go over the total. And you see that UCF versus Hofstra, that's going to go under. Those teams, Hofstra always plays those low scoring games. And you see the Tennessee versus the Mercers, that's going to go low. And you see Maryland versus Coppin State. Come on, you should know that game is going to be a low scoring one. So I mean,
Exactly.
it's you could bet as many times as you want this season, and you could over analyze. That's the thing that a lot of bettors do. They over analyze everything that's went on in college basketball this year. And I cannot stress enough, it really does not matter who's on the court. It doesn't matter. If you know, you know. That's the crazy
Right.
thing. I've had so much success in college basketball just based on the fact that I just watch a lot of games. I could tell you, I could probably name all 352 schools if I had to. You know what I'm saying? It would take a lot of time, but I could probably get around to it. I mean,
Yeah.
these play styles just don't change. They don't. You bet it a couple years and it just ingrains in your mind. I mean, Maryland's always going to be this slow tempo team. I know that
Right.
Maryland, what's it called? I know that Maryland Coppin State game won't even score 130. And we're going to go back on
Right.
this and we're going to laugh about it. Coppin State probably won't even score 40. They're terrible.
Right.
But
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
going back to the whole unit thing, honestly, a smart better bets 1 unit a game. As much as you probably wouldn't even want to do that because you see things you love and you hate. But the reality is, you could have 5 plays and you could have a 5 unit play that you love, and the other 4 plays that you put a unit on all win, and that 5 unit play loses. You're still going to have a losing day, and you're going to look back on it and you're going to be like, wow, how did I lose money? I just won dang near every play. So
Right.
I really try not to get too much into the units. Honestly, I just try to do everything 1 unit. And if I go 0-5 and I lose 5 units, doesn't happen often, but it could. It could happen. I'm only down 5 units. But if I'm mixing and matching and doing 5 here, 3 here, 2 here, down a lot more money than I should be. So
Well, you've yeah, I mean, I've definitely learned my lesson by not following you for some of these bets, especially on the unders. I mean, when you're posting a first half total 61.5 and it going under, and I'm like, Joe, it pains me to follow you on this one, you know what I mean? And then I look up and it's like 17-17 with like, 3 minutes to go. I'm like, damn, Joe's right, you know. So I mean, yeah, definitely really, really good stuff there because obviously, if you want to make money, you got to be disciplined and you have to kind of go with the strategy that you go with. And you've been doing this well for a while, man. And I appreciate the time here. I'll definitely have you on again. But yeah, always excited to talk hoops. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're about a month away from the season starting. Debating if I want to book my ticket to Vegas for the players there to see Maryland UNLV, Maryland Gonzaga. But I will definitely be making my way to Maryland and hopefully the Orange and the Terrapins, are NCAA tournament teams, man. But I really appreciate it. And, obviously, you got
November
your hand
1st,
on
I'm
that.
coming back on this podcast and we're talking that first slate of games and we're going to make a lot of money for you people. So you better tune
Abs-
in because we're going to all get
absolutely,
rich.
for sure, for sure. Yeah. So we'll give some good plays, and obviously, I posted in there for everyone to follow you, but obviously, give me your handle again, and you're posting daily plays, whether it's football, tennis, whatever you're betting. But obviously, college basketball is your bread and butter. But you got some stuff going on leading up to college basketball season, right? I mean, they could follow you for any bets, right?
Yep, that's college. If you can't spell it, then you shouldn't even be allowed to follow it. All right, it's just that easy. All right, get on in, everyone. It's going to be a great season. I'm excited. We're going to talk a lot. Me and Marco are going to make a lot of you a lot of money. So just stay for the
There you
journey,
go.
all right? One day at a time. We're getting rich.
There you go. Well, Joe, I appreciate it, man, and yeah, thanks again for the time, man. I know you're a busy guy, and yeah, let's make some money. And college basketball is right around the corner. That's great. I didn't think I'd see the day, man, but have a great night.
You too, man. Hey, peace out.
Take care.